Thanks, Ricky. I'm like getting more and more giddy as I'm seeing more and more faces pop up. I always keep you guys in the Brady, I call it the Brady Bunch mode, where you can see everybody's faces, and I'm just like, we're all here. It's so great. Brian, welcome. Is there anything you want to add to anything that Don said, other than your lovely other comments, or anything you want us to know about you?
Well, it's great. I mean, being back in the classroom with the kids and being able to do the student data stuff that we do, it's really neat. I've got a great test bed here with my own kids test. So they're always beta testing. They're always going to be fun. But I just am happy to be a part of this. I think that doing this kind of stuff to bring data to the masses is an awesome way to get kids involved, and that's really what we want to do and get kids excited. So I'm excited to hear what is happening and what's going on, and what I can do to utilize stuff in my classroom as well. So looking forward to it.
Excellent, Brian. And I'm sure Dawn has kind of caught you up and everything. And if not, you and I can set up some time. But we have lots of ways that you can look at the work that we've already done and have the Widgeo. I'm sure Dawn has told you all about those things. So we have lots of ways for you to be able to catch up with us, but also already utilize what we've shared. And tonight is the best night to start because this one is almost all teacher run tonight because
Awesome.
We had several of our teachers who got to be part of the MAVEN program, which our own Claire's and Ricky are both very heavily involved in. So I'm really, really excited to hear about their week. So just as a quick introduction, let's just say, let's go around and say our names. And the check-in I had tonight, the one thing, not the 5 things, the one thing you didn't get to this summer. I know I have 20, but anyways, one thing you didn't get to this summer. Go. Sally, you want to start? Oh, good, Laura, good.
Okay, the one thing what that we didn't get to do? Well,
make sure if you're not speaking to mute your mic.
I unmuted, but it's the one thing we didn't get to do or the one thing we got to do?
Hold on 1 second. Hey, Diane, can you mute your mic real quick and so you can hear? There we go. Great. Sally, what was it that you didn't get to?
So I didn't get to all summer hike until today with my 2 granddaughters. So I hiked today and I went to a science center, and to be very honest with you, I am totally wiped. I am just like, so if I fade away by 8 o'clock, that's why. So anyway, but it was amazing because they are 9 and 8 years old and have the energy of everything and the curiosity of you name it, and it was a glorious day.
Fabulous, fabulous. I'm glad that must mean you got to everything on your list then, right? Laura, how about you? One thing you didn't get.
I was going to say my word was going to be everything because I did nothing, but we were crazy busy. But this summer's not over. It's not going to snow for like 2 months, so I got time.
This is very true. This is very true. I'm sorry, but to hear you say that you did nothing, I think that there's plenty of evidence that that is a lie. But, thank
Nothing
you.
on the to-do list. The to-do list didn't get touched.
Vic, how about you? One thing you didn't get to.
Didn't get a chance to work on my suntan.
I hear you on that one, Vic.
Sun didn't shine that much.
Here either. It was it's still just like eternal spring. Today it finally feels like summer, but yeah.
We're fall.
Yeah, right? We're just going to head right into that and have it, we'll just skip summer. Ricky, how about you? It's one thing you didn't get to.
I did not get to submitting any writing this year. Usually I do a little bit of writing when I am not here, and I have done some, but I haven't submitted anything. So I will in a few weeks, though.
I love the positive energy everybody has. I still have time. That's so great. Chris, what about you? What did you not get to this summer? We can't hear you, Chris. You're muted. Maybe he can't hear us. Chris, can you hear me?
I do hear you, but I've been trying to use Google Voice, and I have to mute that, and I just discovered I have to mute and unmute this. So I have double muting and unmuting to do, so I'm a little slow. Didn't get to go to the ocean this year. My kids aren't going to be very happy because they always say, we'll just go to Lake Michigan. It's warmer, but I understand this year Lake Michigan is rather cold. We haven't checked yet, but we haven't done either. So we still have time, though, like everybody's saying. We have time.
Awesome. Brian, do you mind sharing something you didn't get to this summer?
Sure. Well, I didn't get to travel as much, but that's okay because it seems like every summer I travel a lot and it takes away from being able to do things at home. So I did get to put in new landscaping at my house. So it was great. And I saw lots of sun. So if you guys need sun, I'd be more than happy to ship it to you, especially since we're talking, 100+ degree temperature, but I'm not complaining. So
I'll take some of that sun. How about you, Wendy?
I didn't get to much other than going on that wonderful cruise. I just got back from, I went to, where did I go? Marseille and Nice in France, and then Pisa and the Vatican and Rome and Pompeii. And I climbed Mount Vesuvius. I got it right up to the crater. So that was my fun. I just got back a little while ago and trying to catch up from that.
Here, I thought you did some 3-day, from the Florida, from Miami to the Bahamas and back or something. You took a cruise. That is so awesome. Yay, you. That is, I'm sure we would all love to hear. You might have to post some stuff on the Widgio so we can live vicariously. Lynn, how about you? What did you?
One thing I didn't get done is I didn't wash my car, but I put over 5,000 miles on it this summer.
Wow, just going out and doing different events and trips, or?
I drove down to Colorado from here and I took the long way, the scenic route. I went into Yellowstone and I came back via the Beartooth Highway. I went out to do my Tier 2 for MAVEN out in western Montana, and I kept on going, and I went and spent a week with my dad, and we did some Ice Age flood features, and we got up in a plane and flew over the top of that. And I just got back from doing a star party up in Waterton Lakes, Canada.
That's a lot of miles. Wow, what a rich summer you've had. That is great. How about you, Molly? What's something you didn't get to?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Well, I got to do a lot of things. So the one thing that I had on my checklist, though, I wanted to teach my son to type. And so been busy for 3 weeks out of town. And so that's one of the things that kind of got missed. So hopefully he'll learn it on the way. Going to middle school, kind of wanted to teach him how to type. So when he turns in that English paper, he'll have something nice and pretty the teacher can read. But had a wonderful summer. We just came back from Cancun. Didn't get to go on the long cruise, but we got to snorkel a lot. So I got a lot of sun.
Yay, what an awesome summer for you, Molly.
It was wonderful.
Dimitri, what did you not get to? And you've already started back to school already, so you had an extra short summer.
Yeah, we're in the middle of our second week kids have been back since last Monday was their first day. I think the one thing or one of the things I didn't get to do this summer would be catch a fish. I caught my first fish ever last summer because I'm a super amateur fisherman. But I mean, the Chicago River really doesn't have much to offer by way of fishing, so I don't feel too bad about it.
Neither do all the marinas that I see everybody fishing off of going, why would you think that anything lives there when I bike by them?
A lot of standing with, a pole or sitting with a pole, but not much fish catching.
Well, good. Claire, what's something you didn't get to? You've had an uber busy summer.
I feel like I didn't get to anything this summer. I'm so jealous to hear about all you guys' trips and vacations and adventures. I didn't go out. The thing I didn't get to do this summer was go outside. I had grand plans to go camping and hiking and biking, and I didn't do any of that. I've been holed up in my office working away. So I'm quite envious of all of you guys. I hope you enjoyed it all on my behalf. I did, since everybody is defying Andi and saying one thing that you did get to do, I did get to run a really awesome undergraduate program this summer, which was why I didn't get to do any of the other stuff that I had planned to do. But that was, it was worth it in the long run.
Excellent. That might be something for you to share in the future, Claire, is that undergraduate program. That might be something really neat to just share a little bit about. Diane, what did you not get to?
I did not finish my scuba certification. So when we went to the Bahamas, we had to do kayaking instead, which was really fun anyway. So I have next summer I will finish the scuba. So that was me. Oh, and we're back. It's our second day back.
Wow, God bless you guys. That is amazing.
And it's my last year.
Right. You have this, yeah, that's a big deal for you. Paul, what's something you didn't get to this summer?
So many things. I guess I didn't force myself to start commuting by bike yet. Hopefully in the next 6 months.
Great. How about you, Don?
I didn't get to go camping, but I'm still hopeful for the fall.
Fall's a great time to camp, I think. Well, great. Well, welcome everybody. We're so glad you're here and to have new members with us. And like I said, tonight it's all about the MAVEN Ambassadors amongst our colleagues here, and they are going to share about the wonderful week that they had and what they have done with that since then, as well as share some resources that are accessible to the rest of us. So Laura, I think you were going to share a little bit about what the week was like in general, and then there are several of you who have volunteered to talk about what it is what you took away from the experience and what you're developing. Just a quick note, if any of you had a chance, and it was totally last minute, I posted it 15 minutes before we started, but Molly did upload a Mars card activity that was on the Widgeo, and if you have time to print it out while we're talking and sharing, she was going to show how to use those things. It is several pages, just so you know. But they're beautiful and stunning, so I'm excited to see how to get to use this. So, Laura, you want to share with just a brief overview?
Can do. And Chris, jump in if we missed something, because I know you did last year. So, the MAVEN program we talked about before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, MAVEN was the launch that we all did in November. We had the webcast, and then Claire showed quite a bit about what the MAVEN mission was about.
I had about 10 things going on right there. I couldn't remember exactly which one did which. Anyway, so MAVEN is really fun. And for the week, probably the best part is you get together with 20 or 30 other really motivated, interested, exciting, inspiring people and who are doing the same things you do. And so that was really, really great. In terms of the mission science, what we looked at primarily is we went through the process of why we are going there and what the mission is going to be doing. So started out on Monday with the theme of Mars's place in space, compared to Earth with a solar pizza activity and some human orrery activities that were really exciting and fun. And I can post links to those both to the Wigio to this Wigio. They're in the MAVEN Wigio. Tuesday was all about magnetism, because a large part of what MAVEN is doing is looking at magnetism and how that is affecting everything. I found this part really interesting and exciting because it ties a lot of what I've already done with my kids with the heliophysics and the Earth magnetic field science. It just looks at it in terms of another planet. So they can easily make this jump and do those comparisons really well. Wednesday was spectroscopy with some really interesting computer simulations on how the instrumentation works and how different types of science is done with spectroscopy. Thursday was the sun and atmospheric loss, which again tied right back into the Themis and other heliophysics things really well. And there's a really fun buildable activity modeling process that I am still working on my husband to help me build bigger and badder, which when I get it working, I will absolutely share. It's really good on modeling, I think, how the sun's actions can strip away atmosphere. Friday was lots of time to work with everybody else and work with other people to help build your tier 2 and how you're going to use it and how you're going to teach other teachers to use it, which was really, really, really great. And in the middle was all kinds of fun things, tours and fun dinners and birthday parties and good stuff.
Pink fluffy crowns and the like.
Exactly. Torrential downpours.
That sounds really exciting, and I like that you emphasized that just getting to be able to be physically present with everybody must have been really, really, really amazing for all of you. So I have that. Lynn, do you want to start off with showing with what you've done with it? Because were you part of the first year as well as this year, or just last year, or no, neither? Okay, for some reason I thought that you were on your second round.
No, this is my first year. So that was part of the 5,000 miles that I did. I drove down to Boulder and I was participating in the event that they did down there. Since then, I've been able to utilize some of the activities and material that we picked up there and we learned about there. One of the things is we have an event here in Bozeman called Sweet Pea, and we made rockets, stomp rockets, and we were shooting them off to Mars, and they were learning all about the MAVEN project, and we had 550 kids that came through that made their stomp rockets, and they were shooting their rockets off to Mars. So that was really cool. We've also had our Stars Over Yellowstone event, and we looked at Mars through the telescope, and we talked about that. But then when we do the solar observing at Old Faithful, we do a lot of solar education there. And between the 2 nights and the 1 day, we had 1,000 people come look through our telescopes and come talk to us. And so we were talking about MAVEN. One of the people that helps me with the solar education there, he's a teacher from Great Falls, Steve Bell, that we've been trying to get into this group, but he hasn't been able to fit it into his schedule. I did talk to the planetarium director for Salt Lake City, and he wants me to come down there and do a MAVEN presentation for the teachers down in Salt Lake in about a month. And I was up in Waterton and we did a star party there, but we got clouded out both nights and with solar, but we still had people showing up. So of course I talked about MAVEN with those guys. So this went international. We've gone international with our stuff. I do have another event that's coming up at the end of September, the Dakota Nights, which is a star party that will be in North Dakota. And I met Mark when I was out at Johns Hopkins University. He's there speaking on Sunday night, but they have been trying to get someone from MAVEN. So I told them I would come and talk about MAVEN. So they're putting me on the schedule to come talk about MAVEN.
Where was
So
this, Lynn?
It's in Roosevelt National Park. It's in Medora, North Dakota. And the lady who's putting it on, Linda Morton, said she's been trying to get someone from MAVEN and has not been able to get anyone. But she contacted our club to come and get people to come and bring telescopes. And I told her that I'm now MAVEN educator. And she said, could you talk about MAVEN while you're here? And so she's putting me onto the schedule.
That's great news.
Yes.
I should probably, for people who don't know much about the MAVEN Educator Ambassadors, a little bit of context is that this is a train the trainer program. In case you're wondering why Lynn is going off and spreading the word so far and wide, the idea, most of you are familiar with this from HEA and other programs, but that teachers come together, train intensively for a week, and then go home and train other educators after the fact. So this is part of the model. Lynn is not just that motivated all by herself, although she is very motivated all by herself, but she's spurred along by the programmatic part of the workshop too.
Yes. And I've had my tier 2. There was a teacher workshop here in Montana 2 weeks ago. Last year they had over 300 people show up, and this year they had less than half of that sign up. I had one teacher show up for my tier 2. But he stayed the whole 3 hours. We went through all the material.
It's the best workshop he's ever had.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Kind of sad we didn't get more, but I got the one in Salt Lake coming up, so we'll get more teachers down there. So I'm still excited.
Excellent. What a far, it seems so odd to me for you to, be talking about going all the way to North Dakota, even though I'm very familiar with Montana and know how far everything is in the mountain states and how far between everything is. There's not very many people per capita, and so that always seems so odd to me. Yet you have to. That's where your resources are. So so good for you for doing that for us. And
it's 6.5 hour drive to get out there.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope you will keep us posted what happens there and what you're able to share. So when you do these big events, Lynn, what activities do you use? I know you do the look through the telescopes piece, but what other kinds of activities do you do with these folks that ties it back to MAVEN for them?
Well, when we're looking at Mars, we're telling them that MAVEN's getting to Mars, what MAVEN's going to be doing, what it's looking for. It's going to be in the news soon to start looking for that. When we do the solar ones, I've got all of the different activities for solar, but we started bringing that in this summer with the magnetism, and I've got a picture of the Earth's magnetism, a picture of the sun's magnetism, and see how that's different, and then why is it so different on Mars and what's happening on Mars. And we get a lot of auroras up here. We're supposed to have one tonight. They're telling us some stuff's coming our way tonight. So we talk about auroras and how that affects us here and how that part is affecting Mars. So sometimes you've got people for 15 seconds while they're looking through the eye of your telescope. But when we do the solar education at Old Faithful, we have a table out and people will sit and talk to us for half hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, until Old Faithful goes off and then they take off.
Great. What a great way to use real stuff to connect to something that they can't see and they can't know is out there. So thank you. Well, we hope you are always so great. Your pictures that you always share from your star parties and from your outreach events are always so exciting. So I hope you'll continue to do that for all of us to see the good work that you're doing. I like seeing that stuff because then it's like, look, they're doing good things out there. And I feel like I get to be involved in it. So I love all the stuff that you all share on the WIGIO. Well, you've got a lot coming up for you, Lynn. My goodness. Sally, what is it that you took away from MAVEN, and how are you incorporating it?
There's a couple of things that, and I do have, I think I won't share screen right away, but the first thing, besides all the neat activities, and then the other thing that happened that was really stood out is at night, we had all these readings as homework, which was kind of cool. And maybe I think they're posted, but so we created, between Lynn and I, we were roommates, so that made it extra special. And so we had a group of about 3 or 4 people every night that just, we went through the readings, reading it out loud and talking about it, and then we posted questions. And that was really exciting that we were able to do that. And then they were, discussed in the next day. And starting and organizing my workshops, and I've got 2 coming up. One of the things was the modeling that both Claire and Aaron, and there was a third. Oh, Darlene. Anyway, they modeled together in such an efficient way that with my workshop, I have another teacher who's going to join me, because I think that's key. One of the things that we're going to be able to do. And I'll never forget, I was trying to think, how would I start my workshop? Because I only have an hour for each of the workshops. I also have a share-a-thon, so I'm going to be doing some fact sheets about Mars and fact sheets about MAVEN, so that I can pass those out, which are coming up in October and December. But one of the things is Aaron said, go where the water is. And why we're going to Mars is because we're trying to find out what happened to all that water. So I remember in a previous presentation, I showed everyone a video of the river that's out by my house during the Irene hurricane. Did everybody see it? Because I could pull it up if you wanted. And the question at the end of that is, where did all the water go? So if I do that as an introduction and we discuss the processes of what happened to all the water, then we could do the same thing with Mars and relate it. And so we can do comparative planetology. And then there's an activity with the matching cards, which I think I have something to talk about after Molly is going to show us how to do those cards. I want my students to take images from EarthCam, which my school is involved with the EarthCam process. And we just did a mission this last July. While I was out there, I was plugging in images on this project from the International Space Station. So I'm going to use part of those and have the students use the Mars orbiter images and do a compare and contrast. Be able to describe what happened, what are they seeing, what kind of landforms, and what do they think are the processes that form those. And so that they can get a better idea that, gee, on Earth, we have all these processes that happen. Will it be the same on Mars? So we get an idea with that. So when Molly talks about that, I'll show you some of the things that I have done and started. So I think if the kids do it and develop their own matching pictures and images using real data, I think would be a really cool activity that I could share in my workshops. And then they just had some awesome stuff. I only have an hour, so I do want to do the magnetic compass mapping. And there was a neat, quick activity that Aaron and Claire did. I wish we could do it right. It was showing the energy by walking. It was absolutely hilarious, and I wish I had taken a video of it. So it's just quick and would get the picture for teachers and for students on this moving activity. And I don't know if we could figure it out, but
maybe we can, maybe not this week, but maybe some future week, because Laura Pedicolis and I came up with that. about 8 or 10 months ago. So maybe in a future meeting, Laura's on vacation just now, but maybe in a future meeting she can join me and we can demonstrate it to all of you guys. I can describe it really quick if you'd like me to.
But yeah, you go ahead, because you could probably do it since you experienced it. But it was very, I remember it, and so would kids and even teachers. And that it's quick enough to for them to take home from a workshop. That's what you need, something they can take home and grab to.
The first thing is that don't do it immediately after lunch. So it's a very, it's a 5-second activity that is not at all quantitative, but it's quite, it's a visual thing. So you have two people standing side by side, and the idea is they are going to walk across the room, and one of them is going to behave like low energy long wavelength radiation, and the other is going to behave like high energy short wavelength radiation. And so you have one person who walks really slow and they take big long strides really, really slowly, but at the same making the same progress as they go along. You have another person who is moving really, really fast and they're taking teeny tiny little steps, but they have to take many more little steps in the same duration as the slow person takes one big long step. So it shows that the speed of light is the same. Even if you're moving at different speeds, you just need different amounts of energy to be able to make the same progress, because you have to move so fast to go along. So it's just fun. It's something that we kind of made up on a whim. And yeah, like I said, don't do it if you're the fast moving person. Don't do it immediately after lunch.
Right. And it makes that connection, that physical connection. I think with middle school students and even high school, things become so abstract so quick that we forget that we really need to kind of formulate in our head something visual. So, alrighty.
That's awesome. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Anytime you can make things kinesthetic for the students, that they really, especially something as abstract for middle schoolers about the difference between speed and frequency, that is just so difficult for them to wrap their heads around, because we want to think that if you have more energy and you're moving more quickly, then somehow that also means that you should be running very, very fast. Oh, good, some pictures, yay!
Oh, who did this? Oh,
it's just one picture, but it's.
Is that Aaron Wood? That looks like
it's Aaron. So yeah. Aaron was being the slow person, and I was being the fast person. So, and you just basically cross the room like that.
It doesn't do it justice, though.
It's just good, clean fun.
Did everyone get a chance to see the video, which is about 3 minutes? I don't know if they want to. If we have time, I can show it. The one, and it's available. It's available on YouTube also, if people want to use it.
When we do have it recorded on our previous, when you did show it, Sally, so it did get recorded. But if we have time at the end and you want to show it again, absolutely, let's do it again so people.
Okay, I thought you lost that recording.
Oh, is that the recording we lost? Oh, maybe it is. Then maybe we do want to show it again. All right, we should leave some room for us to be able to do that. That's a good idea about the comparative climatology. Excellent. Good. All right. Molly or Dimitri, do you want to talk next?
I can jump in very quickly. I just wanted to second what's already been said about the opportunity to be in the room with that many high-performing, highly motivated science teachers who get your dorky jokes.
Overachieving science teachers. I'll put that in there. It was quite intimidating to be standing in front of you guys as well.
But I feel like it was a really well put together group. I mean, and at some points, my roommate, Eric Santos, who was a teacher in Arizona, it was almost creepy how similar or how many things we had in common. And we hadn't known each other before then, but I mean, we got to the airport at the same time and found out he actually graduated a year ahead of my wife from the same high school here in the suburbs of Chicago. So, I mean, the opportunity to meet other teachers who really feel the same way that you do about science, and then also science education, was really cool. And then also one of the highlights for me was the talk by Dr. David Brain. I think his name is David Brain.
Yeah.
Because he was talking a lot about magnetism and magnetism in terms of Mars. But one thing that definitely came across was his enthusiasm for what he was talking about. And at one point, I actually saw him do what I have a tendency to do when I'm teaching. When someone asks a question that really, well, one, shows understanding, but he really is excited about answering, and he couldn't help but bounce up and down. So, I mean, just being around that energy around science education was one of those things that kind of rejuvenates you for the upcoming school year. So it was really, really cool.
And what are some of the ideas that you're developing and hoping to share, Dimitri?
Yeah, so my school is actually housed inside of a larger Chicago public school as well. And what we're actually planning on doing is we're going to have science teachers I'm going to present my tier 2 to science teachers from my school and our partner school, our neighboring school as well. So some of the activities that we're going to be doing, and I won't have a lot of time, probably an hour, maybe even less. But the human orrery is an activity that we're definitely going to do. And also the mapping magnetic fields activity that we did there. Which is really actually really useful, even for at kind of a lower level, understanding how a compass works to begin with. And then expanding that out to MAVEN and what we're doing with the magnetometers on the MAVEN mission. So I'm actually really looking forward to the opportunity to share all that we learned while we're out there.
Yeah, the magnetometer and the activity, I know very little. I only know what Claire has downloaded from her brain very quickly into mine. But the idea that I was all excited when we were chatting about it, about how all of the effects of the sun, all this electromagnetic energy, and then so I was seeing the HEA and the geons coming together as instruments on this spacecraft, and I thought, oh, how fascinating it would be. So we're hoping that in the future we can, in future sessions, if people are interested, we could figure out how to do some of those activities virtually with you, and so that and we can get you the things that that might be needed to be able to do those activities together as a group, so that you can all feel. And Claire posted the link to where all of these lessons and materials are listed. And so you can get them for yourself as well, and know what they're talking about in all these great things to use, all these activities. So, well, thank you, Dimitri, very much for sharing. Molly, how about you?
Hang on, before Dimitri goes away, we have to demonstrate his beautiful gold tie that he put on for his spacecraft project review that we had. So I wanted to share his picture real quick, just because he got extra points for imagination. That
is quite that's quite dapper, Dimitri. That's pretty fantastic.
I had to dress up.
He was the only one, so.
That's so awesome. Claire, thank you for sharing some of these pictures so that we can all kind of join in the experience of the time that you shared together.
You can tell me if it starts to get annoying.
Well, it's not going to get annoying. I know that we all want to see it. So, and I hope it's fun for the MAVEN folk as well to get to remember that, reminisce a little bit, and see that it was real. Your time together was real. So, all right, Molly, how about you? What all did you take away? And if you want to explain the cards, that'd be great. Whatever you have to share.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. Just like Dimitri mentioned, it was a phenomenal week with some fabulous teachers. One of the activities that I really enjoyed doing in the beginning of our MAVEN program was the Earth and Mars card game. I like to present with my kids a hands-on hook activity, and I thought this would be a really great activity. The beauty of my program is that I can actually write my curriculum and organize the weeks that I'm going to teach that unit. And so I plan on teaching the space unit the same week that MAVEN is supposed to arrive on Mars, September 21st. So I thought that this will be a great activity for the kids to do. It's And I posted the activity on the Wigio. So I'm going to share it. Hopefully this, let's see if this will work. Let me see. I'm going to try to share that activity. So let me see if I can put.
Perfect. Yeah, just share your screen. That'd be awesome, Molly.
Okay. So you might need to help me. Let's see here. I'm going to hit share screen.
And then you should be able to choose the document if you have it pulled up.
Okay, let me pull it up first.
You can also share your desktop if you don't mind showing. I never show my desktop because it's way too disorganized.
Yeah, share screen. Did y'all see that? Okay.
Yeah, there it is. Wonderful.
So, this is the worksheet that came with the card sort. It's a comparison of Earth and Mars, physiological geography, photos of Mars and photos of Earth, and the kids are supposed to compare them. So this gives the kids an opportunity to cooperative learn, to brainstorm, to discuss, debate on whether the cards match up. The cards, I went ahead and laminated them, cut them out and laminated them. So you've got these photos. This is also on Wigio, of a photo of one, and you can tell whether it's Mars or Earth by looking in the upper left corner. If there's an M, that means that's a photo of Mars geography. And then there's one of Earth, which is the E. That's how you can tell. And you just tell the kids to sort with all the Earth photos on one side and the Mars on the other side, and they have to compare and figure out which of the two photos match up. And this worksheet is really nice in that they can actually write down their description and why they think that these images match. Okay, let's see here. So the images are beautiful because they're color, and I went ahead and printed them out in color as well. If you don't have a color printer, the black and white ones, they're just as nice. So let me see here. Okay, let me see. So
are you so let me make sure I understand. So they take even though they're marked Mars and Earth, they take them and look for a corresponding image between the two planets. Is that what I understand? Okay, cool.
That is correct. Sorry, let me try to get out of this. So I don't want to leave the meeting. Okay. No. All right, help me here.
What is it that you're trying to do, Molly?
Okay, so do you guys see, what do you guys see? I don't know what you guys see.
We see your file folder just opened. Right now we see your desktop.
Okay, so I want to just not show you guys this. I apologize.
You're okay. If you go up to the top and hit share screen again, you should be able to pick which things that you would like to share. So although you're on a PC, I think it works that way. For me, if I go to the top of the screen, that little thing that allows you to stop sharing comes up. And then you can hit share screen and it'll let you pick something different.
Or the alternative is that you can just open the window of whatever it is that you want to share, and it will just whatever you see right now.
Yeah. Okay. So so I wanted to just show a couple of examples. Some of them are obvious and some of them are not, but it just gets the kids thinking. For example, these two are not obvious at all. One, unless they know that you can read, there's a label on the bottom, unless they know what Olympus Mons is, or this is Hawaii.
We're still looking at your desktop.
You are?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
We've got plenty of time, Molly. Don't be nervous. It's all good.
I'm just new to the Zoom thing.
Yeah.
So there you go. Stop sharing.
Oops, stop sharing.
Okay.
That's okay.
So I was trying to show this image here. It's not very obvious, but the kids have to discuss, compare and contrast these two images. And so it's a activity to cook them, and also to kind of share with the kids that there are some very, very strong similarities to Mars, geographic, physiological on Mars as well as Earth. And so therefore we can further talk about, you know, how scientists believe that at one point there could have been water. And I really like a video clip that, and I think if Claire had downloaded all of the MAVEN Ambassador activities, there's a little short clip of overall of MAVEN. So
is that the YouTube? Is that the YouTube video, Claire? Got the mission?
Do you know what I'm talking about, Claire?
Which one are you talking about, Molly? Yeah. If you can tell me more specifically, I can probably
read it out. The one that says Mars atmosphere. There it is.
If you want to play it for us, Molly, go.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
If you share your screen and share just that window, and then you can hit play, and then we can all watch.
Take a look at Mars. You probably wouldn't think that it looks like a very nice place to live. It's dry, it's dusty, and there's practically no atmosphere.
You have to share your screen though, Molly. Oh, there it goes, yay!
It once looked like a much nicer place to live, with a thicker atmosphere, cloudy skies, and possibly even liquid water flowing over the surface. So how do you go from something like this to something like this? NASA's MAVEN spacecraft will give us a clearer idea of how Mars lost its atmosphere, and scientists think that several processes have had an impact. One of these processes is called sputtering, where atoms are knocked away from the atmosphere due to impacts from energetic particles. In our solar system, the sun constantly emits large photons. When one of these photons enters the atmosphere of the planet, it can crash into a molecule, knocking loose an electron and turning it into a ion. Ions by themselves don't do much, but when a magnetic field is nearby, they'll spin around the field. Conveniently, the sun generates a giant magnetic field that is carried by the solar wind. As the magnetic field sweeps past the planet, some ions will get carried away. Other ions, depending on where they form, won't get carried away, but really at the top of the atmosphere. These ions can get bounced into other molecules and feed everywhere like a cube in a cube. Some of these atoms can be knocked or scattered into space, causing atmospheric loss. And over billions of years, this can cause quite a lot of change, especially since the solar wind made different attacks early in our solar system. Scientists think that all of this may have caused Mars to gradually transform, but may have been recognized as the Mars into the hard, dusty world we know today. And open this process and tell us how it really works.
So that was a really great little clip, short clip that you can show right after, you know, I plan on showing right after I do the sort cards, and then we go over Mars. And so, you know, I thought that was really, there's plenty of activities that you can do with the class that we did that week-long conference that we had. But that was one of the neat ones that I thought I can show this group at such a short notice to print out. And so that's downloaded on Wigio, along with the instructions and the answer keys on there too. So answer keys on there. So I thought that was really, really neat, hands-on visual. So thanks, Claire.
Andi, how are we doing for time? You're very welcome, Molly, and all of you guys. How are we doing for time? Can I show one more video, MAVEN video, which we may have seen before, but I think
absolutely. No, we're doing great on time, so perfect.
Wait, give me 1 second. Let me pull it up here. I love this, and I think it's because it's kind of funny and witty. I think it's really good for kids too. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just good for adults. Okay, can you see my YouTube screen?
We can't hear though, Claire. I don't think you have the computer audio on.
Can I share screen with computer sound? Let's try this again. How about now? Can you hear?
Say you want to send a satellite from Earth all the way to Mars. Now it's got to get there without running out of gas, malfunctioning, or otherwise causing trouble. And if that's not enough, it's also got to sample things and send the results back to Earth. Now, that being said, it seems obvious that you can't just go building satellites all willy-nilly. Satellites are expensive little things, and you need to make sure that all your plans will work before you run out of money. This is why, before building anything, scientists and engineers hold what looks like an endless series of meetings, phone calls, telecons, tag-ups, and get-togethers, culminating in what's known as a design review. Take, for example, the MAVEN spacecraft. Now, it's a great idea for a satellite, one that studies the upper atmosphere of Mars, but, of course, it's not good enough just to have a great idea. It needs to be reviewed, just like anything else. At this review, a whole lot of other smart people take a good long look at the design, and hopefully they decide they like it. If all goes well, they think that everything makes sense, the budget is in line, there isn't substantial risk involved, and now we can move on to the next step. And once you've finished, you'll finally be able to get all the data you wanted without any trouble.
So that was part 1. There's part 2 that's going to come up. Like you playing?
Say you're somebody who wants to build a satellite to go around Mars. You've done lots of hard work, your designs are approved, and so you think to yourself, great, I'll just whip it together like that office chair I bought last week. Unlike your chair, however, a satellite has to survive in space, where it's extremely hot, extremely cold, and just plain dangerous to nearly everything. So, as you might imagine, it's a little more difficult to put a satellite together. To give you an idea, let's take a look at a bolt on the MAVEN spacecraft. Now, if this was a screw on your office chair, you'd find a screwdriver, sit down for about 15 seconds, and be done with it. If you want to put the same bolt under MAVEN, however, it's slightly more complicated. You have to test the bolt, get the bolt approved, clean the bolt, make sure it's the right bolt again, build scaffolding so you can install it, get the scaffolding approved, check the size, check the fit, and finally put it in carefully with a torque wrench. And once you've put in all the screws, you have to test the entire satellite to make sure all of them stay put. Now, this all may seem a little silly, but if you've got screws falling out of something that's millions of miles away, you've got trouble on your hands, and nobody wants that. And what's more, the bolts are the easy part. Satellites are complex things filled with tons of electronics, so you can only imagine how much work it takes to put those together. So, while it may take a little more time and a few more people than an office chair, it's definitely worth the effort. And once it's built, the spacecraft can get onto its real job without having problems on the way.
I just love those videos. I think they're so funny. I think they're so well done. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
You didn't interrupt at all. This is exactly what this is about. It's all about sharing. It's so great that we
witty videos.
I think they are some of the most clever videos done to date. They're interesting and they explain so much in really great attainable ways. I love, and who doesn't want to say put it together with a torque wrench and willy-nilly. And nobody wants that.
It's really just the British accent that you love, isn't that right?
Well, that too. I mean, that helps. But anyhow, I'm so glad that you had those to share, Claire. And we did put those in the chat window, and they'll be archived in the notes from this meeting. And I think that they might even be on the Wikio from when we did our meeting in November about the MAVEN launch. I could be mistaken, and if not, then we'll make sure that they get there in the near future, so you can use those. Especially just even talking about engineering and satellites, period. When what does it take to put a satellite up into space? That's just really helpful in being able to discuss that, regardless of what the mission is. So
I also think that it's nice because it's not immediately apparent why you have to go through endless meetings and reviews and blah 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 blah, but it kind of helps put a little perspective on that. So sometimes it's still ridiculous, but it tries to explain it.
It's like that Radio Lab about so you want to be an astronaut, and they show what an astronaut really does. And so people understand what they're really getting into if they sign up to be an astronaut. But no, it is. It's really wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing that. Laura, what about you? What did you take away?
Oh, many, many, many things. One thing I am going to do kind of feeds along the same idea as the picture cards, comparing Earth and Mars. But I'm going to expand on something that I do in my earth science class and other places, is to gather some pictures, and I haven't got them all together, pictures of different stages of Earth's evolution, and then find some of comparative stages in Mars's evolution. And then have kids go through the process to create a timeline with those pictures. And then we probably will go into our Mars study and tie into our MAVEN things on the why are they different? And if they're in similar conditions, one, what is the things that make it different? But then they're similar conditions, how come they ended up with such different outcomes? And then look at how MAVEN's going to tie into that. Another big one I'm going to do is the modeling of stripping of the atmosphere with solar radiation with the magnets. And it's a, oh, I brought it. A big multiple pages deal. I would love to build my expanded version and think about it a bit more and play with it, and then I'd be totally happy to share it. That's going to be, I think, really well received by my middle school and high school kids. And I'm hoping to start next week when I get kids.
Another thing that I think is really key is it became apparent to me the difference between our magnetic field of Earth compared to the lack of a magnetic field or where it was concentrated. And there were several diagrams that maybe could be shared that were in several of the PowerPoints so that you can make a comparison with Earth's magnetic field and then Mars, which I think would be key.
Yeah. One last thing that tied back to some of the things Lynn was doing in all of her workshops and whatnot. I've been working a lot with our nearest university, and I'm going to start working with them probably on a semi-regular basis to help the new batch of teachers understand what kinds of professional development opportunities really exist in the world. Their professors and instructors didn't have any idea stuff like this existed. Kind of blows my mind. But so I'm going to meet with them probably every other month. And MAVEN's one of the things I'm going to share. This kind of a environment, something we're definitely going to talk about. But that should maybe get a whole nother group of brand newbies that would know to start looking for this kind of thing to make their teaching practices that much better right from the get.
That's really awesome, Lauren. You've really touched on a big thing that's really hot right now. And why don't you, let's email sometime this week, because we can put you in touch with other people at the NASA forums that work with higher ed PD that might be able to help support you with other resources as well in making those connections. That'd be great. And show them what they have available to them, as well as NASA Wavelength. So yeah, that's awesome that you're doing, because it totally is a hot thing right now. And big reports from NRC coming out about how important it is for the science literacy to improve, that these things take place at pre-service.
Yeah.
Hey, well, does anybody have any questions for our MAVEN ambassadors, or want to know, other things? We have a couple of more things we can show about their experience, but I just wonder if the community has questions for our colleagues that attended.
I don't have a question, but I do want to show this really nice, nifty shirt that we got from MAVEN. So really proud of it. I thought I'd get in the spirit, and I wear it today. So that's one of the things that we had the opportunity to get, part of our perks.
I forgot to tell you, this week I talked to 80 Girl Scouts about space exploration and MAVEN, and we did different activities. I got noticed for the workshop in 2 days and pulled stuff together like you wouldn't believe, very fast. But it was fun, and I had a really good time. And I wore my shirt, and I was so proud. So.
Oh, that's great.
And my reward was a whole case of Girl Scout cookies.
Oh wow!
Oh,
I think you're obligated to share them with the coordinators program, right? Isn't that how that works?
That's where the treasure trove, the hoard of Thin Mints have gone. Share the wealth, Sally. Share the wealth.
Okay. Well, I've already felt like, oh, I can't eat all these. So
I'll help.
Okay.
It's worth knowing that for future reference, in case it comes up, we actually have a whole other program called Girls Go to Mars, which is specifically designed to, they developed an entire curriculum specifically for Girl Scouts for around Maven. So if anything like that comes up again, make sure you give me a shout, and I can probably send you some predefined lessons that are ready to go for you, and that goes for anybody else too. That sounds great.
They want to use me and schedule me next year, so I would like.
Oh, well, there you go.
So,
yeah, let us know and we can send you on something.
Great.
Hey, Claire, do you have any Boy Scouts?
Pardon?
Do you have things for Boy Scouts?
Not specifically Boy Scouts, but we've been using some of the Girl Scout things with some Boy Scouts, I think. I don't know exactly the specific details of everything, but I think they have been there. I think many of them at least are kind of easy enough to cross over. That's my impression. I haven't seen them personally, but that's what I've heard. So.
Well, I'm sure Nancy can probably talk to this a little bit. Are you all familiar with SciGirl 7, the big longitudinal study that was done by PBS? If you Google SciGirl 7, I don't have the link at my fingertips usually. I'm not on my own computer, so usually I have it there and can pull that up. I'll post it on the Widgeo, or maybe Claire and her really, really quick fingers can find it. So there's a big longitudinal study done about how girls learn science and how they learn best. And as teachers, we all know that what is often good for one group of students for them to learn is good for all students to be able to utilize to learn. So, you know, up until now, honestly, Molly, learning has been geared towards how boys learn, and girls have had to adapt. And so this takes, and what we know from the research is that it's a lovely PDF that they have here. Thank you, Claire. It's a one-pager. I give it out at all my PDs. But the research also shows that when these are offered to boys in mixed age groups, that it works really, really well for all learners, not just girls. But this is specifically, and so NASA has done, the forums group has done some cross-forum PD on and developing a really great program called NASA Science for Girls. And so a lot of work has gone into the professional development and the resources that we developed recently to make sure that they're geared specifically to pull girls into STEM learning, because there's a huge, as we all know, a huge gap in women going into STEM fields and STEM careers. So that's why they specifically have a Girls Goes to Mars thing, but there shouldn't be any reason other than, you know, some gender reference that you shouldn't be able to use that with Boy Scouts, Molly, by any means. It should cross over really well.
And I think the same would probably go for the ones that were developed. They were developed by the SETI group down at Pamela Harmon down in SETI. So
yes, and Pamela Harmon, I know, does a really great job of being able to make sure that they're crossover. But these, so if you go to down at the bottom of the screen, you see download the SciGirl 7 Proven Strategies for Engaging Girls in STEM. I have found this really, really great for talking at parent nights. I don't know if some of you educators do parent evenings with your classes or student orientations, but if you have an opportunity to talk about your science program for your school, I have found it really, really, really helpful in helping parents understand. It needs to be emphasized, this is not, you know, that girls have to have all of these things in order for them to learn any science. That's not at all true, and you know that as educators. But that when we shape our lessons around this, and when you look at them, they're just good teaching, is what they are. So, but they are proven to work and are, you know, so it isn't so much that they were trying to target just the Girl Scouts, but it's just in how girls learn in STEM learning. All right. Why don't we, oh, hey, Laura, would you mind, I don't mean to put you on the spot, would you mentioned about making some model badder than I'm like really intrigued by this idea of recreating this model. Will you talk a little bit more about that? And then maybe we can look at some of the things on the MAVEN site before we sign out tonight.
Okay, so the model that I really love is one that puts magnets. It has layers of paper and magnets in a configuration spaced out so that you can take iron filings, shake them across it, so you can see the magnetic field lines where you put the magnets underneath paper. And then you have space between where you put a paper sheet. I may be getting the layers wrong, but then you put another like clear plastic sheet over it, and then you take a cow magnet or another strong magnet, and you rub it across the surface of that top layer, and it pulls some of those iron filings off. And that's the basic premise of it. And I can think of about a dozen ways that you could adjust it and play with it to potentially model part of why the Earth's magnetic field is protecting our atmosphere and not letting us become like Mars, but also so that we could model more specifically why Mars has concentrated areas of atmosphere, concentrated areas of magnetic field, and how as the atmosphere disappeared, I think if you made the layers lower and lower and lower and lower, you would really get kids easily able to see that more and more atmosphere disappeared as you rub that cow magnet across. And even though I have some issues with putting iron filings directly onto magnets because it bothers me, I can get behind it. It's okay. It's really fine.
Well, we worked on some ways of getting around that, right? Where you have you put it in a baggie or wrap it in cling.
I was just going to ask, if you put it in a baggie, will that work, or wrap around it? Does it? It should work the same.
A little sandwich baggie works fine. But we could try to put stuff together. It's kind of it might take a little creative setup and a trial run to make sure you could see what somebody was doing.
Oh, I can help you with that for sure. But if that's something the group is interested in, then we can definitely see about getting people the materials. And if there's a group of you from Maven that would like to work with me in helping be able to facilitate that online, I would love to work with you on that. It's just a matter of just like it is with teaching, thinking about what people are saying. So that might be kind of exciting. And then everybody would have materials that they would be able to implement right away in their classes.
Yeah, this is a really cool one.
Awesome. Well, let's do that. Let's make a plan. I will email you guys and see who's interested in helping me doing that and see if we can't get that done even by next month maybe, or upcoming soon. Oh, good.
I just include the link to both the teacher guide and the student guide if you want to have a look through it to get an idea of what it is.
Fabulous. I am going to share my screen real quick. Are there any other questions for our Maven ambassadors or ideas about how they're implementing things or what they would like to do with it before we move on? I don't want to cut off any questions or comments. No, you guys are also quiet tonight. All right, I'm pulling up the Maven site. So, and Claire, Maven ambassadors, I do not work for the Maven mission. So if I botch this, please somebody stop the train before it wrecks. And that's all I have to say about that. I'm sure there are many of you who could speak more eloquently than I can on this. So I'm going to pull up the page that Claire just, this is one of the actual pieces that she earlier put in the chat window. She put the link to the Maven Ambassador Project. I do have to say, if you want to know a little bit more about our dear colleagues, that you can click on this left-hand bar to the Maven Ambassadors.
You can increase your stalking ability.
Yes, you can increase your stalking ability. So that was really great. I love bios because I don't, I just don't, I like being able to know a little bit about somebody so I have something to talk to them about or I can understand them a little better. So, and some of you teachers, like some of these selfies of people, you like Molly, this is just amazing.
Running for office, Molly, I think.
Right? I was like, where do people come up with these beautiful photos? It's so amazing. So anyhow, I thought that was interesting, but I want to go back and I need to figure out how to move those pictures better. Okay, so here is all of the lessons that people have been talking about that are available to you. This is the post-launch that when some of us watched the launch last October, this is what happened afterwards. And I have actually watched this video. There is some great other activities and resources for you to take away right away from this video. You have to, it's a long video, it's an hour long. But you can definitely some good gems in there that I would find really helpful in a classroom. So I highly recommend that. But I wanted, so one thing that I know Claire shared with me that might be fun, if some of you want to, I know if you hit escape on a Mac, you can minimize the sharing window and still do stuff on your desktop if you want to. So if other people want to join in and go, but there are these two planet designers. So after you've done these other activities talking about the atmosphere and what it does for a planet and comparing Mars and Earth, and then looking at the stripping and why Mars has ended up the way that it has, or so we think, you can go, do I want to go to the Flash Interactive, Claire? Is that what I want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are two of these, and one may work better for middle schoolers and one for high schoolers. The high schooler one, the Kelvin climb, which I think is amazing because kids always want to know, why do we have to use kelvins, right? I remember that from teaching lots of high school science, having to describe why they need a third scale, and I don't have the heart to tell them that there are 9, and depending what they're using. But it's, so what you do is they play the part of the scientists, and you have to investigate which kind of conditions are required for a planet to have liquid water. And so the students can work with planet distance from their star. They can look at building their atmosphere and the size of the planet, and look at how, what conditions are needed in order to hit that ore strike of being able to have liquid water on your surface. And I don't know, Claire, if you guys emphasize this. I know that in my own PDs and talking about, especially when I do the LRO projects, talking about that using the words liquid water are often really, really important, or using ice water, so people understand that water can exist. It doesn't necessarily mean oceans of it, but that it can be in the form of ice crystals as well. It's not very helpful if you want to have life, and they require a temperate climate in order to not bake or freeze to death, but those are other questions that we can talk about. So you can play, and so here's with distance, it's not turning on the albedo. Oh, I see.
You got to go to next. So you go through them one step at a time.
So I can place I'm going to put mine here. I don't know. That looks about good. I have no idea what's going to happen. And then this is what I really like about this is that it really can help. I'm one of those. I was a student that it was not easy for me to ask questions, because I was a student that people just assumed that I would know the answer, which I always thought was dumb, because I thought, why am I in school anyways if I knew all the answers? So I really appreciate the vocabulary that is built into these programs, so that students can remind themselves what these words mean and still continue to use that vocabulary. I'm big on vocabulary. So I thought this was really great, but looking at the percentage of the light from the sun that reflects off the surface. And so the arrow shows how much light is reflected versus how much is absorbed. And so you can play with this a little bit, and I don't know how to make it go up and down.
If you go up to the top corner beside progress, the little paint palette.
Oh yes, right here.
And then you can pick a color, and then you can paint your planet. You can give it polka dots. You can fill the entire planet. So it's basically just a paint tool, and you can make it whatever color you want it to be. And this is where albedo comes into it. And so if you watch the albedo chart on the right-hand side, you can see that the more Andi colors in the planet, the higher the albedo gets. So if you colored it in really dark, then it would probably go down some, because it's reflecting less light.
I'm just laughing at this because none of this is physically possible, but it's fun anyway.
Well, that's kind of part of the fun, especially for students. They get to really go to town and use their imagination.
It would be a weird planet. So then once you have that, then you can go on next to the atmosphere, and then by using this tool, it kind of gives you an idea of what your atmosphere would look like, and how you can change that as well by using these sliders. So if I want it more Earth-like, and I want it really strong greenhouse, and then gives you this excellent, it doesn't do the work for them, but really helps them see in words what is happening with what they're changing, because otherwise they're just looking at images and have no context to connect to. And then they can do their summary. I thought something that was really neat is to be able to have students work on this in small groups, in pairs probably, And then what a rich discussion activity to talk about. I know like in the GEMS curriculum in Unit 3, we talk about is life possible on other planets and looking at what those conditions are for exoplanets. And this is a really real way that they can create these ideas and really look at and have a really great discussion about you know, and have a visual to be able to wrap around this data to be able to see why or why not life as we know it couldn't exist or could exist. So,
Andi, these modules I thought were really amazing when we did them, and we did them in pairs when we did during the workshop. And then I think it was the following day we did concept maps, and my mind kept going back to these modules because, I mean, the individual concepts of distance from the sun and size and temperature and atmosphere make sense. But I think what these modules do is a really good job of showing you how they all tie together and cause Earth to be Earth and Mars to be Mars the way that we see them today, which is really cool.
excellent. Thank you for sharing, Dimitri, about that.
It's worth noting that there are 2 levels of them. So there is Planet Designer, What's Trending Hot, and Kelvin Climb. They're the 2, those 2 are the same. They contain the same information, they're just at 2 different grade levels. And then there's a second interactive, one is called Martian Makeover, one is called Retro Red Planet. And they, again, have the same information, just pitched at middle school and high school, respectively, I think.
So Martian Makeover, is that the more middle school one, Claire?
I am actually going through it right now to try and figure out which is which, because it's not clear to me. But I should maybe ask Erin to just put that up on the website, which one is geared towards which grade level. They're very similar, though. They have most of the same content. I think the Martian Makeover is the higher level one.
Okay, and Retro Planet Red is the
it's
the younger,
the middle school one.
And also this, you know, some great slides about planetary magnetism and then how that connects together. And I agree, Dimitri, that was really good to point out that it shows how they connect, not that just these as separate concepts that live individually, but that these all connect to give us a really big picture of how we can know what we can know. Even that's a big question I get when I go out to the schools from the students is, how do we know what we know? If we can't see it, we can't, you know, touch it, we can't actually get there. How do we know what we know? How can we know that much? Also, a really great job of connecting the science literacy piece for those of you who have Common Core ELA objectives that you have to meet to be able to have this literature that you can use directly with your students as well. So really well put together. And this is all available to everyone. And I am sure that our MAVEN ambassadors, if we had any questions, would be willing to field any questions that we had about the activities or how to use them with our classrooms. So, but I've had a lot of fun looking at that and trying to, it might be kind of fun for, that might be an additional activity that might be fun for us, is to maybe everybody link up to how, you know, in pairs and design some things and have a discussion about what we discovered about these pieces. So is this slideshow, Claire, is this more for teachers or was this designed more for students? Do you know? Is this a slideshow that teachers?
I'm sorry, I was muted. It's a slideshow for teachers to deliver to their students. I actually put it together for the Stripping Mars's Atmosphere activity that Laura was speaking about earlier. But it's also just useful for just general content and context for MAVEN and why it's worth looking at it. So the idea is that this combined with the information in the teacher handout for the planetary magnetism activity will help a teacher to understand the context of what it is that's going on, and then this is a ready to go out of the box presentation that they could give to their classroom if they wished.
Fantastic. It really is really well done, this whole thing. I wish I could have gone. It's really a lot of really neat things. Well, MAVEN ambassadors, any last thoughts that you want to share with what you experienced or what you would want others to know, or be able to take away?
It was really a privilege to be there. And if they have a second, just if they have another opportunity for it, go for it. It was amazing.
Well, I'm really glad that you think so, and it's great to hear this unusual opportunity to get this kind of feedback. We don't normally get to hear these things when all of us, Andi and Dawn and Ricky included, run a workshop. We don't normally get to touch base with you all again in 3 months to be like, hey, so how was that for you? So it's it's a kind of a neat position to be in.
I would add that I'm like I've become a huge MAVEN fan. And this is what my bicycle helmet looks like now.
Awesome.
So I'm advertising around the city as I ride around.
That's great.
Really
And
cool.
it's worth noting for those of you who live in Colorado or Maryland, DC, or California, the MAVEN mission is getting to Mars on September 21st, which happens to be Sun Earth Day also. And many of these places are hosting outreach events those days. So we're having a big party at the Space Sciences Lab. I know that Lockheed Martin in Colorado is having a few parties. Paul, you might be able to tell us. I doubt Lockheed in Palo Alto is involved. I don't think they were involved in the mission much. LASP is having, I think, 3 parties. They're party hogs. I think Goddard Space Flight Center is planning to host a big event as well. So, and if not, you can always tune in online to NASA TV. I think the main event starts at 9:45 Eastern is what my understanding is.
If we're hosting different events on that day or that week, would you like to know about it?
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
Claire, there's a question in the chat about, is MAVEN distributing, do they have products?
I see that, stickers and stuff. So Wendy, stickers and other swag, as we like to call it, is almost impossible to come by these days for any mission. NASA has basically put the kibosh on giving away anything. We have posters. We have a limited number of posters, and we do have quite a lot of postcards. So if you're interested in some postcards, send me an email with how many you think you might like, and maybe copy Darlene on it too. She's usually better at getting these kind of things out, much better than I am anyway. So yeah, just send me an email with how many you think you might like, and we will send you some postcards. We can give these away because they're deemed to be educational as opposed to stickers, which don't have any purpose other than to look cool, as Dimitri showed us earlier. Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's been a lot of crackdown on giving away things just for the sake of giving them away. So I wish we could help, but even we had to, I had to sign my name to get my single MAVEN pin. That's the swag, the extent of my swag. And I'm on the team, so that will tell you how tough things are these days.
Yes, we will continue, missions will continue to make the lithographs and the posters and things like that as per deemed by their mission plan. But yeah, the extraneous squishy balls. So if any of you have those coveted NASA stickers, hold on to them, because there will be no NASA pencils, any of those things. We aren't allowed to create those things anymore. But posters and informational, like Claire said, educational, things that are deemed educational resources can be done. So yeah, hold on to that stuff, man. Anyhow, well, good.
Can I add one thing? I just wanted to share. Yeah, the workshop was phenomenal, and you can pretty much use it for any unit or any sciences. We even talked about, we covered tardigrade. So if you teach biology, or you want to share about that, or there's the magnetism part. And I don't know, Claire, if you were able to have it's the Exploring Magnetism workbook.
That's online, so
okay,
that's
so that's online. That's a really good one.
Let me pull up the link to that. All right, I'll do that while you guys are chatting.
So but I mean, the whole workshop was phenomenal. Thank you so much, Claire, for doing a phenomenal job, and Darlene and Aaron, you guys did a great job. We worked hard, but we learned a lot, and we had a lot of fun. So
you're very welcome.
And all of the activities, you get the opportunity, please look at it. You'll be able to take any of them, not all, to share with your students. They're very hands-on, kinesthetic, and it's real. You know, MAVEN's going to be there September 21st. That's something that you can share with the kids. So it was a phenomenal workshop. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. It's always nice to hear that it was valued by people.
Well, Sally, I'm afraid that we are at the end of our time, but can you post it on the Widgeo so that we can, and maybe with a short description of how you plan to use that with your comparative planet? Maybe, I'm sure, or if you aren't sure how to, I'd be glad to work with you to get it up there so people can see it. But if you want to do a write-up about how you are planning to use it, then people can get to see that beautiful video again. We can't hear you, Sally.
I have a PowerPoint started with a link that goes to YouTube, and then I could show you as an extension from the card activity what I want to do with EarthCam images, which I think anybody could do. You don't have to be a part of EarthCam, but EarthCam is using student data of Earth and then comparing it with the what I want to do is the Mars orbiter, reconnaissance orbiter. So I have photos of Mars from an orbiter also. So I'll do that. I'll get on it. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Sally. I know that people do go, and I know that you all look at each other's resources and use them. So any way that we can do that then would be really, really great. Well, thank you, Claire, and all the MAVEN ambassadors for sharing these things. I'm definitely going to post some things on the Widgeo about some of these activities and people's interest in doing them together as a group online. And as well as if you have other ideas or have activities that you would like to share with the group and have them participate in, please don't hesitate to let any of us coordinators know, and we can see what we can do to help support getting that done. But thank you for sharing your week-long experience. I know I was jealous before. I'm really jealous now. And but I feel so grateful that we have you in our group to be able to give us a taste of what you experienced. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Go ahead. What, Sally?
Thank you. This is cool. So we'll be meeting next month?
Yes, we will have our next meeting is September 16th.
Okay.
Same bat time, same bat channel, and we're going to do some exploring on what we can do differently and what we want to see coming up. So we're definitely going to need some input from all of you, and we would love to have as much as possible. So so look for that, and we can get that rolling. So we'll see everybody then.
Okay.
All right.
Great
Thanks, everyone.
again.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Good night.